you order?
I got jerk chicken, you know. I want for the bad, but that's what send me to sleep.
He insists we come back that it's Ella's again for hurut again. So we had hurut last night and now we have hurut today again.
Double.
I'm hearing Yogada Hopkins, and if you don't know who this woman is, then I don't know, you're probably not from Belize. Ella, greetings, my dear.
Greetings.
Whenever I see you, I go back to one of the first times I saw you. It was at a Mango Fest when you were just starting out. I'm going to that segment of your life, but before that, who's Ella?
Well, Ella is this young, beautiful black Garifuna woman from Hopkins, originally from Hopkins. Yeah, I grew up here and I'm a businesswoman.
Your business has burgeoned from a barbecue grill and attached all the way. Now you have what you have.
Yes.
At one point or any point in your life, you ever thought to yourself and say, you know what, one day I'm gonna have this establishment. Did you ever visualize this, or now you're at this point and like, wow, I've come a long way?
Everyone know how I started and how Ella's Cool Spot started to grow, even up to like the big Easter Bash we have and other events. But I never expected that it would blow so big as how it is right now, until when the devastating incident that happened here at Ella's when the business burnt down. You know, that was just a nightmare for me, you know, because when it happened, I was in my bed sleeping. You know, it was a crazy nightmare, honestly, when I saw my place on Gulf fire, you know, and I wouldn't thought that I will bounce back so quick and rebuild back and become very bigger than ever, you know, with 2 dining area, 2 bars and big stuff, you know, and God have blessed me with that. And from since the place burnt down to now, we don't have a single slow day, you know, and I get to meet up with all my bills and also pay my employees and also give back to the community. So it's been a huge blessing.
Pull up a car. Because, man, it's real good.
Ella's is awesome. Everything we've had here is fantastic. One of my favorite spots in Hopkins.
The food was great, service was great, everyone was friendly. We had hurut. The hurut was awesome. The mixed drinks were amazing. The bartender was exceptional. So we had a good time.
My favorite part of working at Ella's, being in my kitchen. Okay, I love when I make the hurut, I love my hurut. Yes, and the jerk fish, jerk hongs, that's my favorite part.
I gotta say, some of the best jerk chicken I ever have. Here, I believe, ever. So, big up Ella's, big up the chef, big up everybody.
The key to this is fresh. Make sure everything is fresh and it's authentic food, you know. As you can see, we have our coconut grater. So we grate our coconut every single day. So we use fresh coconut every day. Plantain, you know, we go back to the roots. So we use breadfruit, plantain, everything authentic. So the food is fresh. Me personally, I don't like no stale food. I like fresh food. So I want people to enjoy what I enjoy. Yes.
One last word to the audience. Talk to the camera.
Last word for the audience. I'd like to thank everyone who always been supporting Ella's Cool Spot from day one, you know. Even you haven't reached it, by just sharing word of mouth, because up to the kids, they recommend Ella's Cool Spot. So thanks to everybody who's ever supporting locally, internationally, you know. Thank you all, and I love you.
Awesome, beautiful. Folks, you've had it. Ella's, it's a privilege. It's an honor to be here sitting with you and just chop it up. Ask you about your journey, about your life, about business. I'm sure you're going to inspire a youth or more out there.
Yes,
Ella, band the ceremony. I appreciate you.
Ceremony over for.
Yeah, man. Respect.
to J&J's Cool Spot.
J&J's.
I got jerk chicken, I want for the bag, but that's not send me to sleep.
He insists because
here in Yokata Hopkins, and if you don't know who this woman is, then I don't know. You're probably not from Belize. Ella, greetings, my dear.
Greetings.
Whenever I see you, I go back to one of the first times I saw you. It was at
Ella is this young, beautiful black Garifuna woman from Hopkins, originally from Hopkins. Yeah, I grew up here, and I'm a businesswoman.
Your business has burgeoned from a barbecue grill and attached all the way. Now you have what you have.
Yes.
At one point or any point in your life, you ever thought to yourself and say, you know what? One day I'm gonna have this establishment. Did you ever visualize this, or now you're at this point and like, wow, I've come a long way?
Everyone know how I started and how Ella's Cool Spot started.
It's a Maya land rights mural.
Oh, very good. Very good.
But I put no picture because it's going to be unveiled.
Okay.
But it's unveiled to you. And the power of it, I will make sure I put on my beautifulest Garifuna outfit.
I was happy.
Hi, folks. Tonight, once again, I want to welcome each one of you to this episode of Dangriga Unmuted. This is where we talk about the upliftment of the Garinagu, the upliftment of the Garifuna people, all of us here down south, Belize, Nicaragua, Honduras, wherever we have Garifuna people. If you are connected, I'm going to speak based on one who is on the ground here in Dangriga. If you observe, if you take a look around you, thank you. 1 second. So you will be able to see my face on Facebook. The reason is to kind of save energy from the computer. So while I'm at it, I want to bring on my guests, my two guests. I kind of stop in the middle of what I was saying, but hey, we want to do it as organic as possible. So I want to bring on Mr. Egbert Ihinio and Ms. Cynthia Ellis. They're going to be joining me tonight. They're going to be joining me tonight, people, but yet we are one of the most economically trying people. Where should we start? Ms. Ellis, Ambassador?
Yes, I am very pleased to be here. I haven't been on media for a long, long time, and that's okay. So I'm honored to be here. And I was recently dubbed as Nana Baroda Lubafu Isieni, and I accept that definition or description because I invest the state of our nation, meaning the Garifuna nation. We have been a nation designated from the time of our sovereign king and chief, Joseph Chatouillet, and we fought, we struggled to be where we are right now. So the challenge I have in this conversation is whose narrative are we going to believe, you know? If one receives our history from the perspective of the colonial eyes and voice, one would say that we are a downtrodden people, you know? Yet, having been to Uruwei, and at this point I want to give recognition and thanks to all those who came before us, you know, because I feel a swelling in my spirit whenever I am in Uruwei and know that in spite of it all, the one national hero of St. Vincent Uruwei is Sovereign King and Chief Joseph Chatouillet. So we are not our language needs to be very important. And by language, I'm speaking about how the words that come out of our mouth and what we throw there. Yes, there is a reality that we are challenged and we are economically compromised and all kind of things. However, in spite of it all, we have nuggets in our being, our Garifuna duo, that translates into being wealthy. And the Belize national anthem, the one that is for the country, speaks about wealth untold. And I would like in this conversation for us to really speak to wealth beyond the money. And it is how do we access or how do we leverage or how do we present ourselves in the conversation whereby we, in the knowledge of ourselves and kind, as Marcus Garvey would have said, we take on the leadership, suggesting that we be like ostrich in the sun and deny and pretend that we don't have this challenge. That's very true. Very, very true. However, I would like to steer the conversation in a recognition of the wealth that we have, the resources that we have, that other people see as being beneficial for them. You know, so that's my initial comment.
Thank you for that, Ms. Ellis. Ms. Edward.
Yes, brother. And there's a famous philosopher, Caribbean philosopher, who I like to refer to from time to time, who said that each generation, I'll use my own words, each generation must decide what their mission will be. Otherwise, you will live in plain oblivion, which means that we have to decide now, not tomorrow, but now, what is our mission? And when you preface the discussion with the topic as why is it that our culture is so rich, but we are look at it differently? And almost every Garifuna person in Belize can relate to and have possession of some land. All right? And this might be far-fetched for the upcoming generation, but land is power. Absolutely. All right? Land is one thing that never depreciates, like a car or a radio or a TV or a phone. Land always appreciates. And perhaps we need to look at the situation differently by saying we are rich culturally. We are rich because we have a very valuable piece of thing called land. And we perhaps have not been given the space and the institutions to help us develop this concept of land, this material thing called land. Not only the land that you see, right, you walk on, but also what is underneath the land. What is above the land? What is the potential of the land? All right? And if that perhaps is not explored, then, you know, we have work to do from my perspective. So I want to leave it there. I think our people are culturally rich and materially rich, because when I was growing up in Dangriga, I used to go to the farm every weekend because I used to go to school during the week. And there was no lack of food. I didn't know anything called like, what will I eat tomorrow? Yeah. You got plantain, you got yam, you got cocoa. Man, they bring fish, you got coconut. I have my little garden with pepper and spice. My aunt is making things to sell. We had a little economic thing going on. I didn't know a thing about the lack of, you know, if you're thinking, well, I couldn't own a plane because, you know, that was out of reach, you know, but I had a bicycle that could get around. You know, our folks did well. But now we, as this generation, you know, as we are exploring new ways of being with the globalization of our economy and the challenges that are being, you know, thrown in our communities to distract us and confuse us, we need to stay the course.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You know, I listened to both of you, and But I read not too long ago, and something jumped out at me while I'm listening to you, my brother Edward and Miss Ellis. To galvanize a nation, I'm paraphrasing what I read, to really change the people of a nation and to change communities, we need to target 3 institutions: the schools, the churches, and the media. Given the topic for tonight, could you comment on each as to how we as Garinagu are affected?
Yes, I would like to first I want to make reference to the president's comments, and one is that when we define ourselves and don't allow ourselves to be defined by others, it's a very powerful thing in the sense that one of the reasons why we are even in Central America is because we refuse to succumb to enslavement. And because our refusal to succumb, those of us who came across the waters experiencing genocide were willing to pay the price. My point is that it's very important to note that once we stay the course of our knowledge of ourselves and what those who came before did, we're okay. Once we get distracted, as he mentioned, by other people's definition of who we are and looking through the lens of others, then we get it's like I'm just going to bring up a Christian example, not proselytizing or anything, but there was a experience where Jesus was walking on water, and Simon Peter saw him, and he said, if it is you, Lord, bid me come. So he got out of the boat and he started to walk as his gaze example in terms of our Garinagu people. Once we were focused on who we are and our ways, because we have everything, as he says, to be economically self-sufficient. But once we allowed ourselves to be defined, and it's about balance, because there are things in the system that we have to navigate and learn how to do. But if we do that navigation in the context of the other people, other cultures' definition and reality, we will sink. So as far as school, for example, the first thing with school is that our way of being is that school was the world as a classroom. School wasn't just in those buildings that we would go to. School was, as the president said, you go to the farm, you go to the beach, you go school, a rites of passage of school is very powerful in our Garifuna state of being. So if you, for example, reflect on the Dugu, the Buyeba, and then that is a commentary on religion, right? There is the Garifuna religion that intertwines with our sustainable and our economic reality. We as a people have the capacity, we have had the capacity to organize and mobilize ourselves in all ways under the good or the spiritual relation and relating brings that out. People plant the cassava, they and it is within a certain time period. There's a whole set of preparation and economic mobilization, and our people have been able through that model and that journey to be able to come up with the resources. They fly from anywhere and everywhere in the world to participate in what the other cultures would say is a family reunion. But for us, it is deeper than that. We have an interfacing with the sea, with the sky. People are sent out to do fishing. They know the sacred and special fishing areas. They bring the food for the celebration and so on. So we have powerful examples and testimonies of who we are that we need to embrace. And in that space of healing and restoration, we, in our songs, and many of our stories, everything is intertwined in our culture that we have to embrace and present it with boldness. And the reason why I received the definition or the of being like Baroda, Lubafu, Isene, because I recall when the men in Urume were hesitating or feeling not clear, then the women said, listen, guys, let's get this together. Make me wear the pants. And so that brings us into what we are right now, a renaissance, a cultural renaissance, a recognition of what is meant, but our Garifuna spaces. So the people use the language climate change. The people use the language poverty. We have to get back to our original way of being and defining who we are. We don't use the word climate change, but who done more about climate change than us in our songs, in our stories, in our everything?
Wow. Wow. Folks, tonight we have Mr. Egbert Ihinio, President of the Garifuna Nation. We have Ms. Cynthia Ellis, an ambassador. She's one year. She represents us. And we're talking about Garinagu. How did we get here? Economically speaking, it seems like most of us are powerless, and even as a group. So I want to pass it on to you, my brother Egbert. We're talking about, I mentioned earlier, if you could comment, if each of you could comment on the three institutions that affect us. We have the churches, we have the schools, and we have the media. How they affect us, the way we think, and how we become what we are.
Yeah, certainly our people have interacted with the agents of colonialism, right? And the purpose of some of these institutions are not necessarily to meet our needs. So you talk about school. School is not a building. School is made up of parents, students, and teachers. And the school is to serve the interests of the community, right? That's why we have community colleges and the primary schools and the high schools where young people are being taught how to get along in their community and how to, get the tools for survival. But invariably, because Garifuna people are very kind and very welcoming, we do welcome other people who have other interests. And then there is a disconnect, right? These institutions are very important for the upbringing of our children. As I said before, how do they socialize, right? Is they socialize in a classroom? They learn how to debate. They learn how to discuss. They learn how to write an essay. They learn how to present the essay. All these things are preparing our young people for take over when we left. But because our people who claim that they don't have any power, and I refuse to accept that, you can't tell me that 10,000 people in Dangriga, 10,000 Garifuna people don't have power over one person. And that one person, right, will come and dictate to the 10,000 people what to do in the school. Now that is topsy-turvy. You can't tell me 10,000 people are powerless. And you can't tell me that the church is just a building there with a priest who will talk down to us and tell us A, B, Z, we are no good. No, we are the church, right? We set the pace. We set the spirit. We supposed to lead the church as to what the church is to do for us, not the other way around. And I think we have this thing, we have this concept. I always, in my classroom, my students are saying, we powerless. I don't want to tell them too much because I need my students to come to school. You have the power. If 10 I want to not show up, I don't have a class. And next time I might not have a job. Right? So, yes, feed on the ignorance, but that's not right. We have the power. We need to tell the media, look, we need more than you just writing 3 sentences and calling that news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing though.
We the people.
You see,
We the people. I'm tired of like we saying we have no power. Now, if we I just want to finish this thought, right? If you want to study what power is, it's not somebody with a lot of money where they drive around a car and they show off, right? That we don't have to worry about how you got the money. You know what I mean? But he has no power. The power is in the people, the majority of people. You saw what happened in South Africa when, let's say 10 white people are ruling over 10 million black people. Eventually they had to come down. Right? So this colonial way of viewing things, we got to change it. Yes.
Hence, you say, my brother, I thank you so much again. Hence the reason why I am pinpointing these 3 major structures. And these 3 major structures, no pun intended, but they structure our mind, they structure our emotions, they structure how we perceive things. So you say we, you keep saying we, and you're accurate. We say we are powerless. We say, but we can do X, Y. How do we get where I hear you loud and clear. I think the missing element, which again you may comment on, the missing element is how we get each other to listen to us. How do we get each other to listen? How do we get to that point where we say, you one at a time? When you used to roll call, Egbert Inhilio, Anahaya, Cynthia Ellis, Anahaya. You keep saying Anahaya until it changes to Awahaya.
Right, Awahaya.
You see?
That's what in one of the Garifuna songs do, Awahaya, right?
Yeah.
And the song and the singing together, right? The singing together is very powerful and very emotional. But I want you to pay attention to the word power, right? So it's true, these institutions, right, have an agency. They have an agency. Sometimes they work in tandem together. They work together to fulfill their mission as a colonial agent, a colonial agency, right? We know we have our own experiences with the church, for example, where my mother, Cynthia's mother, your grandmother, we tell us stories how the priests, they would go into the classroom and spank them on their hands if they speak Garifuna. And on reflection, some of my folks would laugh and say, yeah, that was our experience. They used to beat me. My auntie tell me she was charged 25 cents for every Garifuna word she said in school. And she would smile. I wouldn't smile because I come from a different generation. You know what I mean? I don't smile when I hear stories like that. And I come from a different generation. That's why I'm telling you, each generation, whenever I tell that story, there is passion and disgust, right? But what will I do with it? What will I do about it? I will organize one other young person. I will teach one other nephew. I will go family to family, right? We got to start somewhere, Brother Cyril. We got to start somewhere. Yeah. I will more. There was a time when I thought the Daboyeba was not for me. Why? Because I was always at the church, I was always at the church. I was being influenced by some of my brothers who became priests, I was influenced by the school, and there was a time when I had to look at our Boyoba and say, but look, how am I turning my face at what represents me in its fullness? So we got to embrace what we have. You know, we have to embrace what we have. We have riches, we have nuggets, right? And we have to bring these nuggets together to alleviate our material condition.
Ms. Ellis, you want to comment?
Okay. Lubafu Iseni, thank you. I am very thankful for this conversation, and I want to congratulate you for this program, because this program and this conversation is an example for the way forward. And I want to give honor and thanks that goes beyond me, beyond us, meaning that the spirit of our ancestors who are present in this conversation, who have come long before, have been calling us to change the narrative, to do a paradigm shift. I was blessed to go to Uruwei twice now. Once you have the experience of going to Uruwei, let me speak for myself, got a sense of anchoring and purpose. And they call it homecoming. And the homecoming process gives us some clarity of the journey that we have been on and the journey that we need to go forward with. So when in St. Vincent, I was told that Uruwei, that when Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves declared Joseph Chatouillet, the way how he's called is Sovereign King and Chief Joseph Chatouillet. And when that was declared, when we were all there at the gathering, I made a determination then and there to call every single Garifuna man a king and a sovereign chief within the aura or ambit of Joseph Chatouillet. And I'm told by the Vincentians that when he had done that, people walked from miles to participate in this recognition. So as President is speaking about the nuggets, those are one of the nuggets, and we have many. We traveled to a place called Balisau, from whence we were genocided and brought over here. And look at the miracle of who we are. So we discussed that this Balisau was in private hands. And as it happened, I had to speak. I didn't plan to, but the person who was to speak was compromised. So I remember standing in front of this crowd and looking directly at the Prime Minister and saying to him, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't just me in my consciousness that Balisau is ours. I said it came out of my mouth that Balisau is ours. It's a sacred space. You know, the next time I was there this March, and he declared to the whole population that Balisau is ours. So I'm just saying that that's power. And we need to begin to identify this power. Another example is that when it comes to these schools, our so-called education, that we must not get distracted by. The fact of the matter is that we, Garifuna, educated the nation of Belize, all these rural communities of the Maya. It's no accident, okay? So if we look at school and religion and all that kind of experience in a one-sided way, the balance is to show how we have contributed in interacting with other indigenous peoples. Many of us, I mean, I was born in a Maya community called August Pine Ridge. And it is a beautiful thing, even though when we go to these places called churches, I remember having an experience in Punta Gorda, and people will interpret this however they want. And I'm sitting in the Mass, Holy Mass, And the priest begins to weep. I mean, this truly happened. This is not hearsay. And he says, we owe the indigenous people an apology. I was amazed. I was expecting that morning. My point is that it is not an accident, and we need to identify those areas that we can leverage within and without the system. So Garifuna Nation, for example, is a space or a place through which we can articulate not the new us, because we have always been a nation. We have been, so the restoration of who we are is the work that needs to get done. The reason why we were genocided and transported to Central America was because the Europeans had a hard time with us. Now, in this new era, it is important for us to study the entire landscape as the Maya did, right? The Maya did their movement for their land rights. And now one of the things that we need to be able to let it come out of our mouth, who we are, and that's powerful, and what we have. So I always tell people that when Prime Minister Briceño came into office, I went, introduced myself to him, and we had a wonderful conversation. And I invited him for us to have dialogue. So the conversation doesn't need to be, well, they don't include us and we are not a part, and look what they are doing in our communities. That is all very true. However, that needs to be balanced with a leadership like the Maroons in Jamaica, who decree and declare that this maroon land is valued, and I'm going to make this up, is valued at, let's say, $80 trillion. I'm just making that up. But the point is that we, moving forward, can change the narrative. We had two bishops in the Catholic Church who are Garifuna, back to back. That is not an accident. That is meaning that the world sees our value and our worth, and we need to do it as well in our own particular way. Come on. 2001, United Nations declared our people as a masterpiece culture for humanity, not just for the Garifuna people, but for the world. So there are many, many opportunities that we have moving forward to lead and to change this landscape.
Absolutely. My brother Egbert, you wanna comment before we switch gears?
Yeah, I like how Ambassador Cynthia put that, is that we got to change the narratives, you know? And for example, we had a serious discussion when the prince, all right, and the princess came to Hopkins many months ago. And the discussion was whether we should present ourselves or protest the visit. We decided, right? I decided that if we were not around the table, we would not be heard. Now, there's a lot of wrangling going on with, oh, those are the people that did harm to our ancestors, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? We have to be at the table. We have to participate. Our people should not fold their arms anymore and say we're powerless. You have the power. You got a mind, right? That you can think logically, and we have resources. Like Cynthia said, we taught the people of the whole nation. Our people, you know, went around and whatever was given to them to pass on, they did it with flying colors. And we are still in position of leadership throughout the country. It's just a matter of now realizing that, yes,
my brother Egbert,
right.
I see your point. However, when we talk about power or powerlessness, especially among
Excuse me, can I come in again? Because somebody was calling while I was on. And so I don't know if you can hear me loud enough now.
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, very good.
So when we talk about powerlessness or having power, I want to use one example, right, to kind of drive home the context in which I refer to powerlessness. The past elections, or the by-election we had not too long ago, and when the Prime Minister put out that anyone who would like to challenge any sitting era rep, you can see how let's refer to Dangriga, right? How an era representative was thrown on us, has been, and it's highly likely that that era representative will be the one to represent us in the upcoming election. Most of the people here in Dangriga, and you will hear it all around, if you go and you ask them, they're not satisfied. That's not what Dangriga wants. But so if we have the power to come together and decide who will represent us, if we don't have that power, we're powerless. Not only that, we don't have much of any say as to what happens in our communities when it comes to our natural resources, who they benefit from, right? Who's hiring, who's doing the hiring, who's making all this money from our natural resources. But yet still, in our streets, we have alcoholism, we have domestic abuse, we have gambling. So it's from that angle or from that vantage point that I'm looking at this when I say we are powerless.
Can I speak to that, please?
Sure.
Sure, you go ahead and I'll come in.
Okay, power has to do with our interpretation of who we are. If we are assessing power in the context of these structures and these realities alone.
Your video is off. I don't know if it's intentional.
I did intentionally turn it down.
Okay, it's all right.
Because, but I'll put it on again later.
No problem, go ahead.
So the thing about power is we are right now sleeping at the wheel. If we were driving, we fell asleep at the wheel. And when I say we, I mean those of us leaders who have allowed structures, systems, and processes to define and interpret and take responsibility for what is ours, it's our responsibility. So I'm not denying that all those things are not in existence. However, my charge and challenge and question is, so how do we make ourselves and others accountable for our reality, our livelihood? Back in the day, I will refer to my father, Godsman Celestino Ellis, who was one of the leaders who always held himself and others accountable, meaning that he was one of the pioneers of the National Garifuna Council. That's why the National Garifuna Council, I think it's now in existence 50 years, is there like how you have the Maya Alcalde system and different kinds of systems. We have always had leadership that would take on the responsibility of moving us forward. So I want to say that it is really not sufficient to say that we are not involved in the conversation if we ourselves, when I say we, I'm meaning our leadership, has not positioned ourselves to be in dialogue on these matters. Let me give you a specific example. There are many projects and programs and entities that come to this country from all over the world. and they are doing research programs, projects in our communities, and we are quiet, to the best of my knowledge. You know, I was part of a conversation some months ago, and I was mortified to find out that here was this discussion about blue bond and blue economy and all kinds of things in Placencia Saint Bite. And the one Garifuna person from Saint Bite that was in this meeting, which was with a lot of people that didn't look like me and you, was the person that I brought to the meeting. And so, I mean, there were representatives from the NGC, and there was probably 3 drummers who, after the drummers drummed that morning, they went back to their homes. And there was a representative of the village council from Saint Bite. That was it. And I was like, Paul, I can't blame other people for that. I can't blame anybody except to see that I made sure that I spoke out in the process of the consultation and raised the question. There are many things that are happening in this country, and we zip our lip, and we need to take responsibility for these things that are happening, in the sense that when they happen, we are quiet or we are not there. So we need to be bold and present ourselves in the dialogue, in the conversation, and also do what we used to do, which is that we plan and we strategize and we decide what is going to happen in our landscape the way the Maya did. And it's not that all Maya that agreed, but there were a group of leaders who said, guess what happened? We need to acknowledge and preserve our land. So we are going to take this matter to court. And even if we are taking the matter to the court, we form alliances. And if we don't get redress in the country, we're going to the Caribbean Court of Justice. So these are the things, this is the way I would like to see us go in moving forward. We need to do our homework.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Absolutely, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, several words been thrown around, right? Power. And well, maybe you have a point, you know. I would say to you that maybe you are worried about those who take power for themselves, right? These are the people, bourgeois people, who take over power and then manifest and pretend like they have all the answers for the majority. And then the majority people have perhaps this perception that because this power person who looks like he have power is the savior, right? And we must know, no one person knows everything. Everybody knows everything. And everybody has the power, not one person. So we need to preach that to ourselves. You know, we collectively have to organize and account to each other, right? With a sense of ethics, you know, and with some passion, with a sense of purpose. No one person have the power. And so when we engage with each other, we should engage in a way to have a discussion about the issue, not so much to engage for talk down to the other person, because it's a collective, it's a community, and sometimes we lose that sense of community, right? Because yes, we have the media that they promote. Well, you see how this guy did it all by himself, you know, 2-3 sentences. Oh, this guy got a scholarship. He got, you know, he won 9 GCEs. You know, he studied all night, but we don't hear what are the conditions. Who are the people who supported him? Who are his parents? Who mentored him? So we need to start engage in the collective. And, you know, Garifuna Nation is not my only first gig. I've gone to meetings in the trade union for the Trade Union Congress of Belize. And I was told by somebody in Barbados, he was glad that I was there on time at the meetings, taking notes. First time he see a Belizean behave like that. at this trade union meeting, and sober. That was the one that hit me hard. Like, what? Yes, he had fancy stories to tell me about not only the people from the trade union, but from other organizations. They go to this meeting, they show up late, they're not paying attention, and they basically not, representing us well. So I'm saying to you, my brother, I am committed, right, to bring the other group and young people. I'm passing it on. I'm not wasting any time. Right. Next 3-4 years, I will not be here. Promise me. I promise myself. I'm passing it on, right? Person.
I love what you say, what you said. Ms. Ellis, I love what you said. Pretty much, as you just mentioned, you talk about the collective, right? We, in theory, I think, or based on our culture and tradition, we have that awareness that it's a collective. Oh, Garinagu, Garifuna Wagi. We are Garifuna. And there's that somewhat consciousness that we share one toward another, but psychologically speaking, we are completely shattered, divided. It seems. So what you said about being a collective, starting to take this thing and work as a collective, we have to first think. I think it starts in the mind. If we don't change the way we think, if we don't change the way we perceive ourselves as Garifuna, Albu Amurno is just a fancy little something that we can learn to say and say.
Yeah, so I respond to that. Albu Amurno is, I'm looking for the action verb, right? I'm looking for the action verb. I'm looking for action. Not, like you said, not just some phrase that we just throw out there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is that we have to have a sense of purpose, right? We have to have a sense of purpose, and we go with this sense of purpose with some logic, right? Some logic. Now, we know that we have forces, working against, I'll say, the Garifuna people at 10%. I don't care what the statistics say. I think they say 5%, 6% Garifuna people have the 400,000? The 400,000 population in Belize, I say 10% are Garifuna, right? Let's say 40,000 people might identify themselves as Garifuna. That is powerful for a small group of people, 40,000, who are able to convince the government of Belize that we need to be recognized. And so November 19th has been recognized as a time to show the world that here are a group of people, right, who exist and are thriving. Now, whether the next group of leaders, young people, want to throw that away like a piece of, I don't think they want to, but that is a big nugget, that you have your own day. And when people come to celebrate with you, that's an economic event. Now, we are so disorganized, it seems to me, that we cannot capitalize on it yet. And that's where we need to do the work. So I'm not going to say I'm powerless. I will say maybe I'm disorganized. And the other one I want to say is that where are my other brothers? Where we could sit around a table without no bitters, without no bad man, and talk soberly about what is the next step, right? So now come to criticize the next one and the other one, come to the table, like how I said when I go to these international meetings. I've been to the United Nations Permanent Forum for Indigenous people. I've been to the United Nations Permanent Forum for people of African descent. Where are my people? What are we claiming? What are we demanding on the international scene? My voice, Ambassador Cynthia's voice, is not enough. And a lot of people there at New York, a lot, right? But when it comes to the table to tell the United Nations, look, we represent 40,000 people in Belize. This is our demand. This is our needs. Where are the rest of the people? Well,
I want to ask, I want to ask both of you. In an interview with the late Canon Jerris Valentine, he said, and I quote, NGC is doing what NGC is supposed to do. NGC is preserving the culture, the dance, the food, the language. But when it comes to the economy of the Garifuna people, we need a different organization to deal with that. How would you comment?
I like the ambassador go first. We are working with NGC. That's all I want to tell you, right? We're working with NGC on different levels, but ambassador.
I want to say that this conversation is bigger than individuals and entities, titles, and so on. There's a lot at stake right now. And if we look at what ancestors did economically, the templates are already there for us to build on. For example, they bought 1,000 acres of land in Cerro in Punta Gorda. We had first Garifuna millionaire, Jaime Noguera. We have outstanding economist, Pat Cacho, and so on and on. So I would like to see us go village by village, community by community, and have sessions, strategic discussion sessions, where we present this economic and sustainable reality with our people. You came up with a framework of religion, media, and schools or education, right? And so what is very critical is look at the state of the nation. Let's say Garifuna Nation, Belize, not going to the world yet, we can't go there. And those of us leaders can do an assessment, like when, like when these politicians get into office, they do visits and maybe they start to break ground with certain things. And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, I wish they would never stop. Let them continue digging and building and so on. So in taking stock of ourselves, in the spirit of Chatouillet, as you're talking about our economic reality, you are perfectly correct, but in the sense of assessing it. However, the language of moving forward is to tap into the power that we already have. But we have, let it lie down. We need to develop it. For example, in the South, right there, Dangriga, right? There is the South Water Key, there the water, there the resources, there the barrier reef. There's no accident why people are coming from all over the world and making economic gain of it. Nothing stops us from being a part of this conversation. Nothing stops us from having dialogue with the area representative or whoever calls themselves in charge of the resources which are ours, because we live in the area. But we have allowed and kept ourselves quiet in the development of our resources by others. So we have to take a level of responsibility in terms of not folding our arms or hands and talking about what people are doing to us. I think there needs to be a radical think tank of the best of our minds, as President was saying, who live in the diaspora and tend to have a lot to say about what's happening at home. I would like to see an alliance between our people. We have professional, competent, experienced people outside of Belize, York, Chicago, all over the place, who we can draw on and develop a network of support to provide technical assistance to our people on the ground to be able to have strategies, ways in which we can move forward. Point number one, embrace this as ours. Do we really truly believe that Dangriga belongs to us? We don't behave like that, because if we were behaving like that, we wouldn't be pointing fingers at a mayor or an assistant or a whoever titled person to be the only one to develop and sustain Dangriga. I was so touched. In June of this year, I went to a gathering of girls age 5 upwards, right? And the point I'm making is that that conversation can happen at the youngest level in terms of our succession strategy. So I went to this gathering of girls, young girls, where the intent is to begin to have them have this mindset of self, to lead and to manage and to direct and to strategize and to control. Nothing stops us from doing that with our children and our young people now, as was done with us. We went to the farm, we went fishing. 10 years old, I'm in the harpoon fish at the Sarstone River. So I think that it's very important for us to take stock and evaluate where we are and to rearrange and realign and to focus on the sustenance of our communities. And that way people will be able to form alliances with whoever, because we are not the only ones in the world who are going through this kind of experience. I have met Maya leaders in the United States of America who have formed themselves as a nation dealing with trade and economy and all that kind of thing. And the Garifuna nation has experience with them. So it's for us to form alliances and not be lamenting about all these things. I mean, we are saddened. However, what is our succession strategy? Where is the cereal that we are going to buy all over the country and pay for and to secure for future generations as was done for us? Where are the mango trees that we are planting as our ancestors had planted so that we could reap from them every year? And you have these mangoes rotting on the ground, village to village. Where are the technology that we can get from other parts of the world to be making juices, to be making preserves, to be making jams? Miss Marie Sharp, who sells all over the world, is willing to give back what she has benefited from our people in Dangriga. Okay? She even speaks Garifuna brothers. The same thing with Pelican, which is the only resort so far in Dangriga. We just recently got a Garifuna restaurant, okay? So these are the tangibles I would really like us to consider. Let us dialogue with the Catholic Church that has benefited tremendously from our people by way of nuns and bishops and priests and so on, okay? So I would like to see us look at sustainability from 2 points of view. What we have invested in this country and in our communities, and how we can move forward in changing this narrative.
Lovely. Brother Egbert? Yeah, Ambassador puts it well. And I would like to say that it's maybe a matter of organization, right? We need to become more organized moving forward. We need to make alliances. And, you know, there are different groups in Dangriga, right? I do see a strong presence of the Chinese, for example. And who is talking to the Chinese? Is there anybody, any group that you know that would be engaging them in a very amiable way to see how they could give us some ideas. I also see the Turks. I don't know where the Turks they come from. I don't know how involved they are in the development of our town, but who is engaging these people? So when I heard the word alliances, we need to have this. We need to have a serious dialogue with all the stakeholders who claim to have the development of our town in their interests. So where I would begin, but among ourselves, we need to also, think about the collective and have a sense of purpose in how we work together.
Absolutely. Folks, I want to remind you all that we are also live on YouTube. You go and search Obafo TV and we will pop up. All right, we're also live, and this is weekly, every Monday at 8 p.m. I'm here with Mr. Edward Ihina, President of the Garifuna Nation, Miss Cynthia Ellis. She is a Garifuna warrior, our Garifuna ambassador nationwide. So I want to change gears a bit. I mean, we're still on the same topic. We're talking about how did we get here, Garinagu, with such a rich people, strong people, culturally rich people, but it seems like we don't have much economic power or resources. There is a project a bill was passed a couple of months ago for the opening of the port at Jetty Pier, Commerce Bank. What's your take on that? In reference to how do you see this benefiting Garinagu?
Well, I would like to study the bill in detail. I got a copy of the bill, and I scanned through it very quickly. I have some questions, and the first question is, why was this port decommissioned for over 25 years? That was one question I had, and who was responsible for that? One government came into power and sold the public lands to a private individual. Now we have another private company or individual making plans. So my question is, how involved are our people in terms of the benefits? I hear there's some feedback.
Ms. Ellis, I think we're getting feedback from you, I believe. Yeah, it's good. We're good. Continue.
So I would be, I kind of feel like I don't have enough facts to go on the pier, right? The jetty pier that supposedly will be open by an individual. It seems to me like it's one individual under the name of a company. And I saw something about 50 million shares that will be sold. I did see something about it's a 30-year lease. I did see something about when the people come into the pier, they'll give the government $2, and then this development or individual will get $2, and then the government will get something like a couple of cents. I did see something about a community trust that is supposedly will be developed. And I don't know what the community trust is all about. So I'm handing it over to some of our economists to vet it. And perhaps next time I come, Brother Cyril, I'll be able to speak intelligently to what is on paper and what has been, what the government intentions are towards the pier. Right now, I'm just remembering what I read. It's a long document, about 67 pages. But one of the things it's not very clear to me. They said how many jobs will be created, and I don't see the list of jobs that will be created. So I know that there are other concerns that I have. One with the environmental impact, because I know we used to go back there and catch crab, right? So I don't know if that would be affected. I know we have a lot of alligators in that place, or crocodiles. I don't know the difference, the same thing. So I'm kind of concerned as to what is the position of the trade union who used to make a living from that jetty pier, who will have access, right, to that jetty pier once it's open. So I have a lot of questions, but I want you to ask me this question a week from now because I have the document and I'm reading it.
Yes, Lubafu ECNA. I think it's very important to sort out the main issue here, which is dishonor and disrespect. And we continue to have these kinds of experiences because our leadership, and I'm speaking about leadership in a broad sense, allows this kind of thing to happen all the time. This is not the first time that we are being reactive. So I won't even, my only comment about the jetty pair, because I don't know enough about the details, is that it is another example of the kind of thing that is done in our communities without a consultative process. I was in Dangriga recently and I deliberately did a walk through the town, and my colleagues, leaders from Dangriga were saying, "What? You walk so far in the sun hot?" I said I wanted to get an assessment of the landscape. And in doing the landscape, I was observing certain things. The creeks and the rivers are dead. The one by close to the bus station is stagnant. It's an environmental hazard. So as a delegation of leadership, we can find like a whole list of projects and programs like this where we need to do the homework. That's all I'm saying. We have work to do. We need everybody in this conversation and in this strategy here and abroad, but mainly the ones who live within the reality. But let me say that even though we focus on the people who are living in the reality, as people, if anything happens in St. Bight, in Dangriga, in Barranco, wherever, that's a concern for everybody, whether we are here or whether we are outside of the country. So yes, we will get jobs from the commerce Bight situation. Yes, we will be having some kind of so-called development, but it's like putting a band-aid on something that is already deteriorating. So we need to really take stock and organize ourselves and develop a leadership network. And the thing about leadership, because we spend a lot of time criticizing one another, condemning one another, we put a lot of energy into things like that. I don't get caught up in that, although I'm aware that that happens. But we have to cease and desist from that kind of behavior. Because while we are doing that, we find that other people and other entities will come out and take charge of our resources and our reality. So that's the first thing that we need to do. We have, as President was saying, and I need to say, Garifuna Nation in the context of two tracks. The Garifuna Nation as an organization and the Garifuna Nation as a people who, whether you belong to an organization or not, you belong to the Garifuna Nation, okay? I just needed to clarify that. But it's very important to take a handle of our sustainability, because if we don't do that, then in a couple of years, we would have lost. We would have lost everything. Look at St. Bight sandwich in between, these high rise. Hopkins, the same thing. It didn't happen overnight, So I think that we have to really take a couple of days, like how we go to the web, and just lay out everything, invest the time, to have this kind of conversation, because it's not just Commerce Bite. It's many, many, many projects in terms of, we should take a map of Belize, for example, and see how much land we have. And it's not just having land for the sake of having land, but land for investment and strategizing. You know, our mangroves are being cut and the land is being used for high-rise investment projects. So we could go on and on and on in that vein. But for me, that is not the most critical conversation right
Well said, and thank you for your comments. So I hear you, my brother Edward and Ambassador Ellis, in regards to Jetica. You said, my brother, you want to review the documents some more. Ms. Ellis, part of my reason for asking, all right, and Ambassador Ellis, you kind of hit the nail on the head. There was not an initial process where the people of Dangriga or Garinagu were consulted. So there's that aspect of it, right? And brother, I heard you talk about the jobs. You made mention of the jobs. In my estimation, based on what I read and also what was said on the news, that I believe it was 100 and somewhat less than 150. I know, maybe a lot less than 100, but over 100 jobs. People will be employed there. There's hardly any detail as to who will be employed, how we will benefit as a people, right? It is also said, and there's, maybe you can comment on this, Brother Guineo, regarding that area at Commerce Bite. It's part of Garifuna Reserve. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I understand that it's part of the Garifuna Reserve. And so I would blatantly say that there's been some stealing of Garifuna lands, right? Other people might say, oh, we lost some land. No, I would say that the lands have been stolen. But I would advise you, brother Cyril, that we look at the document. I gave it to some economists, friends of mine, all right, from reputable university like UWI and Syracuse. I also gave it to some attorneys to review it because it's a huge chunk of land that I think was stolen. Now, I was listening to the news and somebody responded by saying, oh, there was consultation, all right? There was some consultation. And that's why I don't want to speak much about it right now because I haven't read the total document. It's about 67 pages long. And there are some nuances. For example, okay, to run a port, all right? I'm not a port commissioner. I don't know anything about ports. You need brokers. You need, you know, what 150 people. Who are these 150 people? And what is the salary supposedly? Is $50 million enough, right? And who are these? Who are supposedly these share buyers? Who are these people who will buy shares to make up this 50 million? And where will the profits go? Right? You're talking about a community trust fund. Who will be the holders of this community trust? So it's full of you know, like arbitrarily. It seems like it hurriedly come up, and I think they have the blessings of the government because it was passed in the House of Parliament.
They absolutely do. They absolutely
right?
do.
But that does not justify the stealing of Garifuna lands. That does not justify the stealing of Garifuna lands. And we are making a case, that as indigenous people, you know, we have certain rights as indigenous people. And if they're stealing Garifuna lands, those lands have to be returned. And we will see this, through.
Absolutely. I want to go to the comments here. We have one Juan G. Juan Garcia, many Belizeans, Garinagu, functions on the carpe diemis behavior. So most things are started and unfinished. No accountability by the community. Then there can be no government without the people in the community. My father said Wani is the late Chiste Garcia's daughter. My father said this when I was a child. Look at what's going on with the teachers' pay. BS, we need to do better. And then she goes on to say the Turks are playing a big role in that new park. I want to talk about that park too, but maybe in another segment, our people are with, okay, this is repeat itself. So that's what Juan Garcia, Juan GM said. Ms. Ellis, you want to comment on this?
Well, I want to celebrate and acknowledge the leadership of Chiste, and that's a perfect example of leadership that was committed, consistent, and dedicated, and not necessarily confined to structure or systems. We work along and we collaborate, but we are not afraid to present leadership. I remember it was through him that I worked with Henri Lynam, and in order to get that job, of which let me note that we had 1,000 acres at the time, and the dream was that that entity would have provided technical assistance for our communities in producing food. I don't want to say food security, let's say food sovereignty, because this conversation is about restoration of our sovereignty. So he was a visionary, and let me say at this point that he supported leadership that would break through from the South into the whole country. But one of the things that we need to recognize is how we are viewed in the whole country when it comes to governance, no matter what political party, okay? Meaning that we do not command the respect in the leadership overall when it comes to governance, and that's something that we need to pay attention to. But let me say that when I got the job, Buye, Mariano, and Chiste invited me to the Dabuye Bar. And so the significance of that was presencing our Garifuna duo. And in that time of consulting with Chiste and Mariano, that is how, that is the context in which the job unfolded. And I remember one time that there was a big controversy at the Henri, they call Lynam. You go there right now, just as an aside, and it is a school right now that is mostly for the young people who they don't know what to do with, okay? And now the land has been reduced from 1,900 now to 300 and something plus acres last time I checked. The point I'm making is that Chiste and others in our community were presencing who we are in terms of defining what would happen. Nobody can just come in here and do what we want. The most horrific what they want, the most horrific experience that I have had in recent times is to see our people lining up, meeting the Minister of Lands with a $5 and the Social Security card to discuss accessing land. This is deplorable. This is disrespectful. I've seen it also with the Maya in PG, where they were lining up in the hot, hot sun, coming from villages all over the South. These are situations that for me are unacceptable. And I have been in Placencia St. Bite, for example, where Maya women, I counted 75 of them coming to me and asking to sell their craft, coming from all kinds of villages. The point is that moving forward, we have to take stock, like leadership, like Chiste and Mariano and many others who try to maintain that sense of respect of our leadership. That's the key now. These things happen because we allow ourselves to be dishonored and disrespected. We had Aranda, the Honorable Aranda, could have been Garifuna's first prime minister. So these are things that we need to reflect on and identify lessons that we have learned from it in moving forward, because there's nothing new under the sun. These things have always happened.
Right, Ambassador Ellis, thank you so much, and you are absolutely right. If I would summarize this episode's title, it would be along the lines of leadership. We need leadership. But Egbert, you talk about the collective. We need to change our mindset as to looking at things individually, how our actions affect each other. All right. You said something earlier, Ambassador Ellis, about how the powers that be, how do they look at us? What is their perception of us? That's what I understand from what you were saying, and that's a very crucial. Are we respected? So that's what I get from this entire conversation, which is deep, and I'm saying that because each and every one of these topics, each response could be, we could peel it apart like an onion, and they each have different layers. So I said that to say I would very much want to have a second part of this episode, because tonight was refreshing, it was informative, it was deep. So I want to invite you both again. I don't want to confirm for next episode next week until I confirm with you both off the camera. As we get ready to close, I want to give each and every one of you, Brother Egbert, I want to give you, Ambassador Ellis, the opportunity to close our final remarks. Let's start with my brother Egbert.
So, yeah, you had an interest in the economic empowerment of our people, right? And I remember many years ago when I was younger, I started a mobile recording unit for the music and hand it over to the group of guys. Now everybody make their own little music. With a hope we'll take it to another level, because I was trying to establish the economic power of our music. And November 19th is coming up, Cyril. A lot of people are being Dangriga, right? Last November when I was down there, I didn't see people eating a lot of hudut. I didn't see a flag, Garifuna flag, right? I didn't see, this November 19th is our economic engine for us. So I would say, save your green plantain, don't eat your green plantain, and save it for 19th, when you could get a premium dollar for a plate of hudut. Save the fish. I'm being a little facetious here, right? But save the fish for 19th, when you get a premium dollar for sell a fish with hudut. Save your banana, right? The 19th of November should be a festivity of everything Garifuna, right? I don't want to eat no barbecue, beef and chicken and all. We want the ital. Right? We want the ital. This is a time for our people. We should organize around the 19th so that everything that people come and buy from us is Garifuna dough, is an essence of Garifuna dough. And that's where we could start, turning a niche at the economy for our people. But we have to organize. We have to organize it. Nobody else will organize us.
Absolutely, my brother, and thank you for that. You're absolutely right. November 19th is right around the corner. It should be, this should be an opportunity for us to profit, right? For us to It
Not,
didn't
I'm not.
start. It didn't start like that, right? But we are in 2024, almost 2025 now, and the liquor companies, man. Anyway, this will start another chapter.
Yeah, don't worry about the
We're
liquor
gonna
company.
go-
We make free money.
Right. My sister, my dearest Ambassador Ellis. Let me pass the mic on to you.
Right. Nana, Baroda, Bafu, Iseni. That's the message I want to pass to every Garifuna woman. That when William and Kate, well, soon to be king, I never understood the prophetic conversation. And I said to him, people were thinking I was dancing for entertainment, right? But I whispered in his ear that we are dancing as a form of healing and as a form of therapy for what your ancestors did to mine. So this time of the 19th is bittersweet. Yes, we will celebrate what we have overcome. And we also need to use this opportunity of gathering people together to galvanize. And brother, I hope that we can discuss strategically what can be done in that time that is separate or in addition to jumping up and down and eating the hudut and dressing in our colors, right? This is a time to take stock and invite dialogue, maybe a town hall meeting or something, which looks at the state of the Garifuna nation, not the organization, but our people as a whole who will be coming from all over the world. Health, our health, oh my goodness, people are dying of diabetes, hypertension, and all kind of things, right? Our economy, because health is wealth. Our land, our resources. This is an excellent opportunity for us to move forward in the memory of people like Russell Chista Garcia, Godsman Celestino Ellis, and so on, where these people had the vision of sustaining our land. Those coconut trees are still there that Chista had planted. You know, things like that. Everybody, we need everybody. Our cassava, Garifuna, people of the cassava, you know? So these are the things that I want to challenge us moving forward for November. Let's have our own banks, our own financial systems, our own credit union. Those people who live in the United States, my goodness, our own Western Union. It's not a relationship of just sending a barrel and sending money, but a way in which we can regally take command of who we are, who we were, who we are, and who we are to be. And I tell on no men, I have great respect for no, but you know what? Give us women the pants if you are not ready to do this thing. No disrespect, man.
Ambassador of the Garifuna Nation, Miss Cynthia Ellis, my brother Egbert Ihino, President of Garifuna Nation. I want to thank you both, and I hope we could have a part two very, very soon. Thanks again, and have a good night. Thanks for all your input. Have all the wisdom, band,
my name,
folks, this is Dangriga Unmuted. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Remember, we are here every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, Belize time. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining, and make sure you share the live when you log on. We're always live on Facebook and YouTube. Please follow the page, share the page, invite your friends and family to join in. Let's unmute silence together. Respect. What did you order?
I got jerk chicken, you know. I want for the bag, but that's what send me go sleep.
He insists we come back that is Ella's again for hudut again. So we had hudut last night and now we have hudut today again.
Double,
and you're Gada Hopkins. And if you don't know who this woman is, then I don't know. You're probably not from Belize. Ella, greetings. Good quality at affordable prices. In between Smart and before the main bridge. Make a show you some stuff. Cameraman, camera woman, follow me. This is Rash's fashion, and whenever I'm gonna pass through, I'm gonna ask for Ram, ask for K, and they were hooking up. What did you order?
I got jerk chicken, you know. I want for the bag, but that's not send me go sleep.
He insists we come back that is Ella's again for hudut again. So we had hudut last night and now we have hudut today again.
Double,
Then I don't know. You're probably not from Belize. Ella, greetings, my dear.
Greetings.
Whenever I see you, I go back to one of the first times I saw you. It was at a Mango Fest when you were just starting out. I'm going to that segment of your life, but before that, who's Ella?
Well, Ella is this young, beautiful black Garifuna woman from Hopkins, originally from Hopkins. Yeah, I grew up here and I'm a businesswoman.
Your business has burgeoned from a barbecue grill and attached all the way. Now you have what you have.
Yes.
At one point or any point in your life this, or now you're at this point like, wow, I've come a long way.
Everyone know how I started and how Ella's Cool Spot started.